Let's do it.
All right, brother. Like, I honestly could start tearing up. And I actually did start tearing up. I think it came up on a TikTok. I think. I believe it was a TikTok, and then I kind of went through the Instagram, and then you go through the fucking website and all that type of stuff, right? And you just kind of go down the rabbit hole. And I was like, dude, man, this story is insane. I had to shoot my shot, and we're like, sharing a conversation. So for people that have no idea who you are, go on, be the storyteller and give us your story, man.
Yeah, totally. And thanks so much for having me here, Alex. And I'm so happy that you shot your shot and sent that message to get me here on this podcast. Because just as we were kind of chatting right before getting the recording going, I mean, this is the purpose of my life, and this story has been a heck of a ride. There's been a lot of ups, and there's been a lot of downs too. But when I reflect on it and look back on the story, like being able to share it is a gift, and I really hope people get a lot out of it. So, story time. Who's Robert Paylor? So, born and raised over in California, Sacramento. It's the Valley of California. Probably 2 hours from San Francisco, and lifelong athlete. When I was first born and growing up, it was like started off playing t-ball, baseball, as most of us do over here in the States, when I was like 5 years old, and playing basketball. And when I was about 10 and getting more into like contact sports, then I found the sport of football, American football, which I fell in love with. I was also always kind of one of the bigger guys in my class. I was taller, I was heavier, just kind of naturally strong. So when I took to this contact sport, I found what I love. I found what I was good at. I'm getting awards, and I'm team captain, and it's infectious. I love it. And like that was my identity in my life, was like contact sports. So I get over to high school, and I go to this high school in Sacramento. It's called Jesuit High School. And it has this culture for rugby. Now, I didn't even know what the sport of rugby was before I got to high school. I had never heard of it. I had never seen it. I mean, I just knew nothing about it. And it was my eighth grade year, so just before getting into high school, that Jesuit High School had won a national championship. And it might have been like their seventh national championship at the time, with the program only being around till I believe 1997 is when it started. So, we're looking at like almost half the years that they've been competing, they're winning national championships. So for American rugby, this is a very strong winning culture of rugby. Mm-hmm. Something that's serious, and people go to the school to play rugby, and people are really encouraged to go and try this out. Whether they are people who are really physical into contact, we got those more finesse style players who can beat people on their feet, and soccer guys coming in who really are good on the foot and have good vision for the field. We'd bring them all in, just like this little town over in Sacramento, Carmichael, like, not something that people think of really being like some athletically dominant area of the country, but it had a culture. And my buddies were all playing the sport, and they're like, Rob, you gotta try this. Like, you're good at hitting people, you're a good athlete, give this a shot. So I go out, I try it, and I immediately fall in love with it. I got MVP my first year playing. We won the national championship that year on the varsity side. And then my next 2 years, starting on the team and doing really well. We got second place both those years in the nation, which is like, a bad year for us. But I really found that my identity had shifted. Like I didn't see myself as like a football player anymore. I was like fully dedicated to the sport. And then that brought me over to Cal Berkeley, UC Berkeley. Very great school. It's the #1 public university in the world, which I was super excited about because I was also very, very focused on my studies and wanted to have a great career afterwards. But the rugby program is very historied. It's the first varsity program at Cal. I believe the first year of competition, it was in the 1800s, which, over here in America, like 1800s, like that's almost as old as it gets around here. So, pretty serious, to be starting that early. And, has a continuous culture where, back in like in the 1920s when 15s was played in the Olympics, the majority of the American team that ended up winning gold in those Olympics, I think it was 20 and 24, those are Cal rugby men. And the program has won 33 national championships. That's with the national championship tournament only being around for about 45 years, give or take a few years. The program is dominant. I mean, it's like New York Yankees baseball and Alabama football, like these programs that have incredible success. I mean, Cal Rugby by the number is dominant as a program. So when I got my shoulder tapped on to go play, I mean, it was just a no-brainer. It was an immediate yes. I was very excited. And my freshman year, I had to put in my work, and I was helping the starters get good reps and practice and stuff, and building up my athleticism and skills for the game. And by my sophomore year, I was starting at number 5, and I'm consistently doing well, on a path to be an All-American, hoping that maybe one day I can play internationally or represent the United States. These were my dreams and my goals. And although I had started the sport, relatively older at the age of 16, in America, that's not so uncommon to be starting rugby when you're, 15, 16, 17 years old. I had a chance, I had a shot, and, we were working to a national championship. And the day was May 6, 2017. And we were playing Arkansas State that day. Now, Arkansas State, they had made it to the national championship game, but we had been there a lot. We knew how to do our film study on these guys. We knew their weaknesses and how to exploit them. We knew their strengths and what to look out for. We came in confident that we can put in some good competition against these guys. And I remember just like those butterflies in my stomach, where this is the pinnacle of collegiate rugby in America. And, for someone like me, this is my dream. I mean, this is something where, like, I know this is a day of legacy. I know that this is a day that I'm going to remember forever. And one day I'll bring my kids back to Berkeley and I'll show them the ring on my finger and a banner on the wall, and, tell stories about how awesome this game was. And it was, I remember getting in that locker room, I'm getting taped up and standing for a national anthem. And anyways, we won the coin toss and we wanted to kick it off. So we did. We kicked it deep back there, and then they committed a penalty, a long arm penalty. So we kicked it into touch, and it was about 5-7 meters out, and we were very dominant in the maul that year. You put us within 10 meters of the try line and we were lethal. It was obvious that this was something that we were going to do. So we put up a middle pod. I was the front lifter, and I immediately swing around, make my bind, and, they make contact with us. We start going forward. Now, this is like my moment, right? In malls, it's the boiler room. It's, it's where the big guys are thriving. And I'm like drooling here. Like, this is my time to shine. We're 5 meters out from scoring. It's the national championship. I want my back padded next day and film. Let's go, give it all you've got. And these opposing players, they start making these illegal moves, and ref's not calling a thing. So first, one player comes in from the side, and there's no advantage being played or anything, nothing being seen. And I continue to push forward, and this player who came in from the side, he also binds me into a headlock. So if you can imagine, he was coming in from my left side. I'm shoulders forward to the try line, and he's got his left arm around my neck. He's cranking it down, and then with his right arm, he hooks my leg. Which is kind of like a cheeky move a lot of people do, like in these malls, but it's illegal. These aren't things you can do. But this bind around the neck is serious. It was just that year, actually, that World Rugby implemented the guideline that if you make contact with the head or neck, you don't play advantage. You stop play right there, and you give that person at least a yellow card. If there's any sort of maliciousness or intent behind it, then it's a red. And the ref's not calling anything. two more players coming from the side. I mean, I got, they're torquing my body all around. I got my leg hooked, my neck is down. I'm fighting this thing. I'm trying to go forward. And then this other player comes in and he just chops me by the legs. Mall starts collapsing. And I've got my head, pinned down like this. And, I'm doing what I can to bring it up. But, these are routine for malls to collapse. But this one was different. I mean, I just remember I was right into the ground. I made impact. And then I just felt this god awful crunch in my neck. And then it was just like lights were off. I mean, poof, it was pins and needles everywhere throughout my entire body. I'm lying there on the turf and I immediately know, okay, this is bad. I mean, my thoughts are processing just like a million thoughts a minute. And then instinctually, I just kind of try to pop up. That's what you do in sports when you knock down. You just kind of, especially in a sport like rugby where play is continuous, you get up and you immediately start going to your next assignment. But nothing's happening. And very quickly, I start trying to wiggle my toes. Nothing. I try to roll my body over because I was on my chest. Nothing. Wiggle my fingers. Nothing. All I could do was really shrug my shoulders up and I could breathe a little bit. And I just start screaming because I was in my worst nightmare. I mean, I had seen these stories on TV or in an article before, and you get the updates from these guys years later, and a lot of them don't really get better. I knew what it was like to break bones, done it plenty of times before. I knew this was in my neck, and I knew how serious these injuries were, and my thoughts just ran wild. I mean, I started thinking, am I going to be able to play rugby again? Like, the thing that makes me feel most alive. Am I going to be able to go back to school? Am I going to have a job one day and, meet a girl and get married and start a family and have all those things in life? But I mean, more importantly, am I going to be able to feed myself again? Am I going to be able to walk? I was just swimming with terror in my head. And I got rushed over to the hospital. They do a set of medical imaging, x-rays, CT scans, MRIs, and the doctor comes back. He's got a bad look on his face, and just very frankly, he says, Robert, you will never walk again. You will never move your hands. And we're going to do our best so you can do something like pick up a piece of pizza and bring it to your face. And if you can do something like that, then you made it and you beat the odds. Rugby's a dangerous game, and things like this just happen to some players. I hate to see it, but you're a victim of the violence of the sport. Now, like, hit the pause button there for a second. Things like this are not of the sport of rugby. This is not a common occurrence. The laws of the game prevent something like this from happening. And with proper officiating, something like this, and training, I will also say, something like this just wouldn't have happened. And if we want to play the statistics game, you're more likely to get hurt driving to school than you are competing in the sport of rugby. So disregard that. But what he was saying, as it came to my prognosis and future outlooks, he wasn't far off from what would have been true and honest. The reality is these injuries are catastrophic. These injuries don't go away. Usually they're very chronic. So 9 out of 10 times, or 99 times out of 100, this guy, he would have been right. So what I did, I'm a religious guy, born and raised Catholic, and I wanted a priest to come in to give me the sacrament of anointing of the sick, so that God could be here with my healing. But also, I got to mention, he recommended a surgery to me. My doctor recommended a spinal fusion surgery to me. I had ruptured the disc between my C5-6 vertebrae when my face slammed against my chest as the mall collapsed. And I had fracturing my C4, C5, and C6 vertebrae. And the damage, he said, would only continue to be worse to my spinal cord unless we stabilize this region. We fused it, almost like casting it permanently, so that the swelling would go down and healing could start. And he said the catch was that it was a potentially life-threatening surgery. Now, incision through the front of the neck here, they moved the esophagus over and perform the surgery. And there's a lot of important real estate right here, right? I mean, if you're just a little bit off, things get bad very quickly. So that's why I wanted to call this religious advisor, right? Is because he told me I had 30 minutes to make this decision on if I wanted to go into this potentially life-threatening surgery or not. And I needed God. I mean, I needed prayers. So I call him, asked him to bring a priest in, and he says he'll do that. And then before he hangs up that phone, he gives me this piece of advice. And it's a piece of advice that's carried me ever since. And he says, Robert, yes, this is terrible. And throughout this journey, there's going to be a lot of things that you can't control. But the one thing you do have control over is your mindset. So your positivity, your ambition, your willingness to wake up every day and fight is up to you. This injury can't take that away from you. So in that moment, I didn't have a lot. I didn't have the odds on my side. I didn't have some doctor saying that everything was going to be okay. I didn't have signs of life showing up in my body, but I had my mindset. Like I had a goal. I had faith, and I had the ability to choose to respond in a way that would make me better. So I made the decision to go into that surgery. And from every day there forward, I mean, I'm on day, 1647 since May 6, 2017. And that advice still carries me to this day, that no matter what happens to me, I can always control my mindset and take on the challenges that come my way. So I did go into that surgery, and I said my prayers. I got rolled in the operating room. I closed my eyes, and that concluded May 6th of 2017. Now, I just went on for a while there, so I'll kind of pause. But yeah, that's the greatest challenge of my life.
Brother, that story is insane.
Yeah.
Like, I feel myself welling up, you know what I mean? I just want to give you a fucking hug. Like, that's absolutely insane. Like, and facing the adversity that you've been dealt with a positive mindset is, very, very difficult, but also like it's necessary.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be, you mentioned like religious, right? And people might be thinking, oh, well, I'm not religious, so I'm fucked. I'm like, no. Like faith goes beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the mindset goes way beyond it. Like believe whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But make sure whatever's going up in the top 2 inches of your brain, like is going to pull you forward. Like a pull factor is always going to be more, it's always going to be stronger than a push, right?
Yeah.
It's pulling you forward. Mate, that's insane.
Yeah. I love what you said there too. I mean, I do talk about my faith a lot, and it is very important to me. And I attribute much of my success to my faith. It's been very helpful to me in overcoming my challenge. But I'm not going to say y'all need Jesus to be able to overcome your challenges. I mean, that certainly isn't like, like the secret sauce that I'm going to like propose to someone. Realizing you have control of your mindset, and waking up every single day to take on a challenge, that has nothing to do with religion. That's a personal choice that you make every single day, multiple times a day for the rest of your life. And you can believe in yourself. You can believe in a goal, and that you'll overcome that goal. I think what my faith did for me is it gave me trust in a greater plan, that this injury happened for a reason, and that I needed to trust that everything was going to be okay. It gave me peace. And I think there's a lot of ways that people can develop peace and trust in greater outcomes in the future in their life, than just faith and religion. That's how I got it for me. But there's a lot of ways that people can develop that kind of stuff. But I mean, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. So to have that belief right away is critical, because as that doctor told me those words that I would never walk again, I didn't say it, but in my mind I was thinking, you are flat out wrong. I am not going to be just another statistic. And the people who are in that statistic, I'm gonna have to work harder than all of them. I'm going to have to like change the statistics, because of how hard I'm going to work, and because of how lucky I am with the resources I have in the place that I was at. The support that I had was just been remarkable. I mean, I had the utmost faith and belief in myself to overcome that goal in that moment. Not always an easy thing to have, but it's necessary. You have to have it.
You have to. And I think
Yeah.
you summed it up in one word, peace, right? And you have to
Mm-hmm.
like just believe something bigger than yourself. You know, it doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
to be anything in particular. It doesn't have to be the same as everyone else. And you don't even have to voice it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just
Yeah.
believing that things are bigger than this organic thing that we call our body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which can easily break and be manipulated and change and grow old and die and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's having faith that, you know, one day it'll get better, or we're here for a reason. You know, purpose is a man-made thing, but also it's what gets us out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
finding that
Absolutely
peace,
right.
that inner set of peace, like 100%. And also like
Mm-hmm.
your neck, man, like honestly, I can't really describe how much that story touches me, because
Mm.
I injured my neck at like 16, 15, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, man, like I repetitive injury over like 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately I had to make the decision to hang up my boots. But the amount of times I got concussed was insane, man. And my memory now is dreadful.
Mm.
You know, and I it's crazy because I remember the day, just like you remember the day in 2017 of
Mm-hmm.
I went down for a tackle, routine, right? Just me and my opposite number one were basically the same player all day. We're like, fuck. Every time I
Mm-hmm.
hit him, we stop still. Every time he hits me, we stop still. In the scrums, we don't move.
Mm.
It's like I'm playing
Yeah.
myself here. It's insane. Next thing you know, they
Yeah.
get a penalty, decide to run it. He doesn't like me. I clearly don't like him. We're like, okay, cool. I'm obviously from Manchester. He's from Liverpool. We're playing at his home. I'm like, cool. Like we've got a rivalry of the cities too. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
motherfucker, you want to take me on? Like that's fine. I look to my right, look to my left. No one's going in for this tackle. I was like, all right, cool. I'll step up, no problem. You know, you go down, head goes onto the right hand side. I'm going to hit with my left shoulder, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Last second, decides to pivot, move to the other side, and the top of his knee, or his knee hits the top of my head, and literally my chin hits my chest. He falls over the top of me. Technically, it's a featherbed tackle. You know, he knocked on, we got the scrum. That's all I cared about at the time. But as soon
Mm.
as he fucking his knee made contact with my head, like my eyes went white.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. You know, I had a hole in my head like 2 inches deep that I only found out after the game because I was in the car and I was like, oh, my head hurts so bad. And I literally could sink my fingers into my head. I was like, whoa, this is
Holy
not
crap.
this is not good, dude. Like this
Yeah.
isn't normal. So like anything with the neck, man. Like, and I think it was like a year prior, someone at our club broke their neck too, and his name was Alex, ironically.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it probably was around the same time as like, you know, it seemed like all these neck and head injuries were coming out, and you know the rules were
Mm-hmm.
getting changed so we could make sure everyone's safer, and obviously sport science improves, so recovery gets better and tackling
Mm-hmm.
technique gets better, and I do say the contact sports are safer without pads because it teaches you
Mm-hmm.
how to correctly tackle and take another human being down to the ground rather than just
Yeah.
like I'm just going to smack them and whatever happens.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you know, in my sense, it was a freak accident. I'm not going to hold any malice. In your sense is different. That, you know, eye gouging, grabbing around the neck, choking, hitting from the side of the knee, any of that shit, like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. They've said, I want to take this player down and I can run the risk of seriously harming them. And they want to play those odds. And I'm like, no. Like you shouldn't be playing this sport again.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't have that because in the end of the day, you know, so much of our passion is rooted behind it. And I mean, I would have given so much to be a national champion and you know, to be able to rise the ranks and beat these teams. I mean, it's our lives when we're playing it. I would give a lot for my teammates and for that game. But in the end of the day, it is a game, and we have a commitment to each other on that field. We can be very physical, but we can be very physical within the laws of the game.
Yep.
You
100%.
don't need to be pulling all these illegal moves, try and give yourself some advantage and hurt another human being.
No.
Because these are human beings, and they do hurt, and there's a lot more to life than playing the sport. And at the end of the day, every single one of us is going to have to stop playing rugby at one point. And there are going to be other things that we have to do. And we're talking about these injuries and stuff, and while they do happen in the sport of rugby, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea about the sport and think that in any way it's common to have catastrophic injuries like this occur. And but it is an important reminder to players who are out there to not be making illegal moves at all. These rules are here for a reason, and somebody's life can change forever by disobeying these rules and just trying to get away with something for the sake of giving yourself an advantage in a singular game. It's not worth it. And it's also important, I think, for people to appreciate like every moment they have to play the sport of rugby. I mean, if I woke up tomorrow and I was totally fine, I mean, I'd be looking for someone to put my shoulder into. Like, I would be like, okay, like where's the nearest club like I can go to? Like I'm going out there, I'm playing. Like, I don't hold anything against the sport of rugby. I mean, it was like the best decision I ever made to go and play this sport. My greatest relationships, my like greatest experiences were in the sport of rugby. Like, I dream of about playing rugby when I'm asleep at night. So I think it's really important for players to realize just how much of a gift it is to be able to go play that sport and to soak up like every moment of it, because I mean, I thought I had years to play the sport ahead of me, and it changed in an instant. My ability to play that sport was taken away from me probably forever. So when I when I talk to a rugby player and try to give them advice, it's always just like enjoy everything. Enjoy like the moments in the locker room, like enjoy like when you're like feeling that burning in your legs and your lungs. And I mean, you're trying to do everything you can just to like put one leg in front of the other and get to the next assignment. Like enjoy everything about that. Enjoy the conditioning and the fitness and those moments when it's tough. Because there will be a day at one point when you give anything to have it back. Like, and I mean, don't always like expect, the next year or the year after that to just be a thing that you take for granted. Like only appreciate like this day, like live in this moment and get everything you can out of this moment. That's what I like to tell people.
Yeah, for sure, man. You learn so much more about yourself, life, other people, social interactions, like than just learning the rules of the game and getting a little bit of fitness adaptations, right? Like you learn so much. And like we said before we hit that record button, of like you learn so much discipline. Like I honestly, like I swam before playing rugby, right? And obviously I'm from Britain, so I played a bit of football. It's just what you do, like as in European football, soccer, as you guys would call it. But I swam, and I'm like, well, what am I going to take my aggression out on? The water? Well, that's not really going to do much, is it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So learning, like you said, these are the rules, and if you stick within them, you can hit this guy as hard as you want. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I was like, I'm in. Sign me up.
Yeah.
And then you learn to be able to control that, and between 0 and 80 minutes. Okay, yeah, cool. We're going to kick 7 balls of shit out of each other. But after that, I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to buy you a pint, because I'm going to be like, I appreciate the time that we spent on the field. I appreciate the effort you put in to try and knock me down, and you do the same for me trying to knock you down. And we've met in this middle of this gladiator, this arena, which we have so much mutual respect for one another, and that brotherhood of like, if I step out onto this field and, God forbid you end up getting taken out of this game that we call life, you're like, well, I'm doing what I want to do right now. I just got to go play this game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, sports, they teach life lessons that don't just translate
Oh yeah.
to sport, but it translates to anything in life. And I would attribute sports to be the number one thing that's helped me in my mindset
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
overcome this challenge. I mean, so after this surgery, here's just continuing with the narrative. I mean, I had to fight for my life. So I couldn't swallow anything at first. I would try to swallow, and then whatever, liquid or food I would be trying to get down. I had so much swelling in my neck that whatever the flap is that covers your windpipe, your lungs, when you swallow, it was getting stuck under the swelling. So I would swallow, and let's say I'm drinking water, it'd go into my lungs. And here's the thing: like I couldn't cough because my diaphragm was mostly paralyzed. So I would just start choking essentially, and somebody would have to come over and they'd start slamming down on my chest to try and generate some force to get the stuff out. It was scary. So, dude, they had to put a tube up my nose and down in my stomach. It took 3 days to get in there because I broke my nose so many times playing rugby. And I lost 60 pounds in 1 month. I mean, my body that I worked for years to build up and strengthen, it was just gone immediately. And on day 2 is when I contracted pneumonia, which was particularly dangerous because, I mean, pneumonia is dangerous for anybody, but like I said, I couldn't cough. So it was every 3 hours, someone would have to come in and do these breathing treatments. I would like breathe in some fumes to help loosen the mucus off the walls of my lungs. And then they just start slamming down on my chest. I mean, I kid you not, like we'd be filling up like a liter with just crap coming out of my lungs. It was horrible. And my doctors told me I might not even survive. And I tell you what, I could feel death like sitting there in that room, just waiting for me to quit, just saying like, no, I'm gonna take a break. Like I just need to get some sleep, or I don't want to do this breathing treatment. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be too painful. I don't want to do that. I mean, like there was no option because I felt like if I gave it a break, I was going to die. That's how serious it was at that moment. And like the things that got me going through that were sports, man. We so for Cal Rugby, we had this glossary of terms that we would use to define words that we would use so we were all on the same page. And one of them was mental toughness,
Mm-hmm.
which we defined as the ability to focus on the next most important thing. So in the sport of rugby, let's say ball comes to you, you knock it on, and the players, like coming at you, like the mentally tough person, what they're going to do is be able to just like internalize that knock on right away, put their shoulder into someone, so they don't go on a run away with it, and they're not like letting this moment stew in their brain. So later when they've got a scrum, they're not just they're not thinking about that, and then they screw up their assignment, or another ball carrier gets around them because they're just thinking about that moment. They're putting that in the past. They're focusing on the next most important thing. That's mental toughness in rugby. And for me, mental toughness was, I need to do this breathing treatment right now. I need to make the decision on if I'm going to go into this potentially life-threatening surgery right now. I can't sit back and think about how crazy everything that's happened to me is. I can't think about how worried I am right now. I have to be able to push that down and focus on what I need to focus on in this exact moment. That's one thing that sports has taught me that helped me in my recovery. I mean, that ability to be comfortable being uncomfortable is something that's helped me in the sport of rugby. And not only that, but like seeking discomfort, because as an athlete, like when I was training, I'm in the weight room, I'm doing conditioning. If I woke up the next day and I wasn't sore, I was pissed off because I was like, I just wasted yesterday. Like that like fatigue and uncomfortable pain that you feel is, it's what makes you stronger. And I was able to, seek that out in my rehabilitation. And when my therapist, they would be like, oh, like, you want to take a break, or, let's lower the weight down on this exercise. You don't want to like get too tired. I'm thinking like, no, like put the weight up, like, let's go. Let's put everything into this. That's things that the sport of rugby taught me. And And also just like the importance of teamwork is something that the sport of rugby taught me. And, I don't like asking for help, especially when it's something simple like, hey, can you cut this steak for me? Or, hey, can you go grab something off the top shelf? Like it's humiliating to have to ask for stuff like that. That's like so simple and something that I would be happy to do all of these things for myself and help others do it as well. But I can't, you know, that like ability to like put my ego down and ask for help and realize the importance of a support system and how much more you can accomplish in a team than by yourself. I mean, that's what's got me through this injury. Like when I returned back to Cal a year after my injury, my teammates, they set up a spreadsheet of like all my classes and all my workouts to get me to my class, because the hills of Berkeley are nuts. Like it's crazy. It's hills for days. So like in a wheelchair, which I'm still in today, and wasn't when I returned back to Cal, I don't care who you are. You can be the strongest person in the world. Those hills will beat you up. So they put together my schedule. They'd sign up for slots, like take me where I needed to go, when I needed to go there. And I mean, I'm a member of that team, whether I got my cleats on and my name on the roster or not. These things like sports, earlier, like, I say it's just a game, and, and it is something that we can't do forever, but the mindset that we develop and the relationships that we develop from sport, that's something that lasts a lifetime.
Sure, like will last a lifetime, and it bleeds off into everything else in life, right? That mental toughness, that mental resilience, as we say in the gym that I coach at in Christchurch. Like it's, we do this, we do the hard things, we do the uncomfortable things, we do the shit we don't want to do. So then when life punches you in the face and tells you no, like, yeah, you've had enough, Rob, like that Grim Reaper is sat next to you, it's literally got its hand on you and be like, it's time. You fucking look him in the face and be like, fuck you. I go when it's my time, not when you decide it, when I decide it. You know what I mean? And that's so inspiring, man. Like legitimately every 3 hours, like it's insane. And being able to be like, well, hold on a minute. Well, first of all, I got two choices. I can do route number one and do what I don't want to do. And I've got the opportunity of still breathing this air, or I do what I want to do, and that's going to be taken away from me. You're like, well, then you've only got one choice, right?
Yeah. So it makes it pretty simple.
Pretty simple. Just because you've developed that, nah, I'm going to go when I'm done, and I'm not done. Yeah. There's something else. There's something else here that I need to do, right? Whether you're religious or not, whether you're faithful or not, like you have to think, everything happens for a reason. There's lessons that you need to learn from this. There's things that you need to do. Maybe you weren't meant to, go all state, all American in rugby. Maybe you weren't meant to. Maybe it wasn't written in those stars. Maybe that was not your path. And ultimately you were going down someone else's path. You're like, oh, in fact, like I've got something bigger and better for you, mate. So you kind of need to learn something from a catastrophic injury to then push you on the right path. And then look at you now, man. Like it's insane.
Doing well. Yeah. In terms of like look at me now, it's probably good for me just to explain to the listeners like what has happened since all that. Because you talk about like how much has happened and like how many gifts there are, and and how there is a plan for our lives, and that plan is good. And when we trust in our vision and our goals, and we put in consistent effort every single day, we do things that we couldn't even imagine, and others couldn't imagine as well. So I got over that inability to swallow and the pneumonia, and I went over to a hospital in Denver, Colorado. It's called Craig Hospital, and this is one of the best spinal cord injury rehabilitation facilities in the world. And they have a totally different mindset about it. My first conversation with my doctors, they were just like, Rob, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you might walk out of these doors one day and you very well might not. But the one thing we do know is we're going to give you everything that modern science and medicine has to optimize this recovery. Like we are going to work you till you tell us to stop, or till you drop. I mean, we'll give you everything you want. And I was like so on board. It was about 9 hours of rehabilitation a day. And I mean, you know how it goes with physio and rehab. Sometimes it can be like the most simple motions, but working on something like that, it takes a different degree of mental toughness to
Oh
say,
yeah.
okay, like I'm not going to be putting a bunch of weight on my back and squatting it, and I'm not going to be running like super fast sprints and stuff like that. I have to be humble, for a moment, or in my case for a very long while, and realize that this is my challenge and accept that weight on my shoulders. So I mean, it was things like, because I couldn't move my hands, right? So I mean, I would be moving like a marble to a jar for like an hour straight. Or I'd be doing things like just staring at my toes and like trying to get them to wiggle for like hours. Just like these little tiny things, knowing that that's what I needed to do to get better. It's like you said, it becomes very simple. And when you break it down to that, it's difficult, but it's simple. And then I mean, 8 weeks later, like I could twitch a finger, and like that same week I could like twitch a toe, and I could see like the systems waking up. And that's 2 months of working at something and having nothing show up, and having everyone around you say that nothing's ever going to show up either. But like those little signs of life, like taking that small bit of hope and using that to fuel me to keep pushing forward, to where then I could bend my leg, and then I could be able to bring a cup up to my face and feed myself and like dress myself, and to eventually like I could start working on like getting on my feet and on a harness, up to the ceiling. And I mean, just giving everything I've got. I'm screaming just to take a step, but like so grateful, for every little piece that I have, because there was a moment where I didn't have any of that. And eventually, about a year later, after spending a year in that hospital, I was able to get up into my walker with assistance. I walked out of the hospital doors. That was about 3 years ago that I made that accomplishment. And since then, I can walk about 300 yards in one given bout in my walker. I can stand up out of my wheelchair and into my walker on my own now. I mean, I can live independently now, and perform the daily activities that I need to do on my own now. I graduated from Cal. I walked across the stage to receive my diploma. And I've had these incredible personal accomplishments for myself. But the gift and the purpose that this has all given me is that ability to inspire others. And this is a gift that I wouldn't have had if I would continued on that path, and if I didn't have this injury. This injury, I mean, if somebody would have told me like, Robert, you'll look back on this one day and you'll be grateful for these challenges. I mean, if someone would have told me that on the first day, like I couldn't do it, but if I could, like I'd stand up and I'd punch them in the face. But looking on it now, gosh, yeah, 1,647, I think, days later, I truly wouldn't wish it away. And that ability to touch people, it's been in the millions. I mean, millions of people have seen and interacted with my content, and waking up every day and reading those messages of people who are inspired and moved, and sharing the challenges that they go through, that I'm helping them go through just by taking on my challenge. That's something that I could never wish away. It's a purpose that's so strong to me, and it's required a lot of trust and a lot of faith. And I'm still not where I want to be, because I'm not out of this wheelchair yet. But I'm either going to get out of this wheelchair, or I'm going to die trying. And in the process, I'm going to be grateful for every single day of it, and try to make others' lives better too.
It's so powerful, man. And I think people emphasize, they have empathy for the struggle, right?
Yeah.
Look at me, I can't even speak. They have empathy for the struggle. Like they will relate it to whatever, right? And it's not about a comparison game. It's about a sharing game, in the sense of, okay, yeah, you're struggling in this way, you're struggling with that way, you're in a wheelchair, you went through this, they are deaf, whatever the fuck it is. And it's being able to relate to each other's struggle and be like, you know what? If we want to go somewhere fast, we'll go alone. But if we want to go somewhere far, we'll go together.
Yeah.
and putting the humanity back into humans. Like rather being cogs in a wheel and we're all just like trying to compete with each other in whatever sense. It's like, no. Like we all feel things. We all go through whatever sort of struggle or suffering that we're going through. Let's do this thing together. And I'm going to go do my thing and face those things because Rob's facing it every day. And you're going to do your thing and facing that thing because someone else is doing it every single day. And I think that ability to share and that ability to have empathy is so powerful.
Yes, it's so important. And that's something that it's one of the greatest tools that helps me in my challenge, because there's a lot of times when I feel sorry for myself. There's a lot of times when I don't want to put in a workout. There's plenty of times when like I have a workout coming up and I'll just like sit there and I'll like stare at my shoes for like 20 minutes, like in my walker and all that stuff. Like just like thinking like, man, like, I mean, this is gonna hurt. Like, this is gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna test me mentally, and like, I need pick-me-ups. And the thing that keeps me going is looking up stories of other people who are going through immense challenges, because there's always somebody who has it harder. There's always somebody who's dealing with something more difficult than what we're going through. And I talk a lot about like having a good mental diet, and how, like, with the body, if we put bad food into our bodies perform worse, and vice versa. If you put good food in your body performs better. And I think the same thing goes with our minds. And
totally.
The more we take in negativity, the more negative we are as people, but the more we take in positivity, the more positive we are as people. And nothing inspires me more than watching people overcome tremendous personal challenges in their lives. I hate to see them have to go through it, but I love to see them overcome it. It inspires me to be able to access that same type of resilience in myself. And there's this saying that I use a lot when I need like that perspective shift, and it's compared to what? So I'll be like, man, I'm so tired, but compared to what? Or there's a lot that I'm dealing with right now, but compared to what? There is so many people out there who would give anything to be in my situation right now. If they woke up in my shoes, they would be attacking this day. They're sitting in a hospital bed right now, like praying for it, or at their home dealing with something difficult and wanting something better. Like the empathy I have for them, it makes me like so much more grateful for what I have and want to use it too. So like that statement, compared to what, it's not meant to dismiss our challenges, because that's very unhealthy. When we dismiss our challenges, that's just ignoring it, and the challenge doesn't go away. But what it does do is it puts my challenges and other people's challenges into perspective to help us realize that what we go through is overcomable, and there's so much that we can achieve. But to be able to have that kind of perspective, you do have to have empathy. You have to feel for what somebody else goes through. You have to care about it, and then let that guide your actions.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. And seeing someone face any type of adversity head on is so inspiring. Even if it's, I always go back to the same example of like working in a gym, right? And someone jumping on a box for the first time, even if it's like this much off the ground, like an inch off the ground, just because you know what's going through their head. They're like, well, if I leave the ground, I'm going to fall over, or I'm going to trip, or I can't make the box, or whatever, right? So they're dealing with it, and they're just stood in front of this box and just like mentally processing everything. And the fact that you stand in front of that box, the fact that you stare at your shoes in your walker, you know what I mean? The fact that someone sits down and addresses whatever's going on, that is so inspiring. So inspiring, and I don't think you can replicate that anywhere else.
Yeah. It is true that like great accomplishments come from great challenges. And like you have to have discomfort to be able to inspire with someone. And you have to have an immense challenge to be able to have immense success, or else everybody would be doing it. And it would be commonplace. And sometimes like the greater the tragedy, the greater there is the opportunity to make a difference. in someone's life. And I mean, like there would be a lot of people who told me when I was going through the real thick of it, like God gives his toughest challenges for his toughest soldiers. And you know, and I kind of like assumed that responsibility, that this challenge has been put upon me, and you know, it's my duty for others to overcome that challenge. And that's another piece of advice that I give people is to make a selfless commitment to other people. Because when I first got hurt, like I just wanted to get better for myself.
Mhm.
I just wanted to be able to walk so I could walk and move my body so my life would be easier. And you know, that's a selfish desire, but that's not a bad thing, right? A lot of times like the word selfish has a negative connotation to it. But me wanting to have that, like nobody's going to blame me for it. And I was in the hospital one day. And actually I should explain. So I used to do like youth rugby camps when I was at college. I'd come back to my high school, it'd be youth like age range like 8 to 14 right before they got to high school. And I would, you know, teach them skills and just not give them knowledge about rugby. And there was this one kid there. He was a smaller kid out there. His name was Talon, but like he had played with heart. He was like scrappy. Everybody loved him. And I'd like give him the ball and I'd like pick him up, and I'm like bobbing and weaving and like stiff arming these like 13-year-olds so he could go score. And it was 5 days after my injury that my high school was hosting a prayer service for me. My dad shows me a picture on his phone of this kid who I don't recognize. He's obviously fighting for his life. His hair is like super thin. It's white. Skin is crazy pale. His body's just like skin and bones. And then my dad tells me, "Oh, this kid is Talon, and you coached him at a rugby camp." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And it was a part of this post. He was wearing like a Jesuit rugby shirt, and he's like sitting in this chair. And the mom made the caption something along the lines of Talon wanted so badly to be at this prayer service to pray for Robert, but he has to be here undergoing chemo. And you know, she's explaining how he's wearing his rugby shirt because I helped inspire him to want to go play rugby when he beats this cancer. But it was the end of the message that it said, "Stay strong and keep smiling. Your strength helps Talon stay strong too." And I broke down. I mean, tears are coming down my face because like I realized that this wasn't about me anymore. And going through the breathing treatments that I had to go through, and the workouts and the long hours and doing things that I had to do to get better, I didn't do them for myself. And I didn't do them just so I could walk and just so I could have my body back, but to be able to help someone like Talon or help the other people that, you know, that send me messages. It's a commitment to that I made, and I can't quit, and I will never quit, because this is the biggest commitment I've ever made in my life. It's a piece of accountability for me. And when I don't feel like doing something for myself, I do it anyways, because I'm doing it for someone else. So I always encourage people to think about who they're working for, you know, whether that's our family or friends, or it could be someone that we don't even know. But when adversity strikes us and we're struggling to find that reason to keep moving forward, that commitment is our reason. And a life lived for others is a life of purpose. And when we have that purpose, we can overcome so much more.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's so true. And you know, if you have a strong enough why, then it will get you through anyhow, right?
That's right.
Man, that story is so powerful. And I'm all about telling stories, right? Like the amount of things I've done just for the story is insane. And I hope I keep on doing that. And we all have, you know, twists and turns, rivers meander down, and they all eventually end up at the ocean, right? And that's where we're all going to end up. We're all going to one day disappear and nothing will matter. But at the same time, we're going to be able to tell some wicked stories along the way. And
yeah,
you know, you've told one story, and I'm tearing up, man. That's an insane. Like, yeah, you had to go through that, so then you can tell this story, and people listening will be like, well, you know what? I can get up in the morning and I can go fix my day. Or, you know what? I can keep going for my people, because I know this guy called Robert on the other side of the world in sunny California is doing exactly the same thing. right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you sharing the story, man.
Yeah. And that's what I love to hear. Like, people like look at me and they can see a person who just deals with a lot every day. I mean, just like even starting my day, I don't like roll out of bed and kind of wipe the sleep out of my eyes and drag my feet. Like I wake up to spasms, like intense spasms. My legs like contract and they shake, and like I make like strong fists I can't control. Like my fingernails are digging into my palms. Like the challenge starts immediately, and just the process of like getting dressed when I can move a bit, but I mean it's quite a challenge just to do something simple like kick out my leg to put on my pants and stuff like that. I mean, just like combing my hair, eating, like all these things are challenging. And I think sometimes when people see me do it, like they feel pity.
Mm,
And I don't want pity. Like
mm,
I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. Like I want what you just explained, like inspiration.
mhm,
um like when they're going through something tough, to be able to think of me going through my difficulties but continuing to push forward.
mhm,
Like that's what I want. That's the point out of all of this. And when people tell me stuff like that, where I get messages where people are like, hey, I've struggled with an alcohol addiction and it was getting really bad. And there was nothing I felt like I could do about it. But I saw your story, your faith, and your perseverance. And right now I'm 63 days sober. Or people are saying like, I've had a really bad weight problem. And I eat too much. I don't work out enough. And I just wasn't changing it. But like I see you tackling this every single day. You give me hope, man. And I'm down 50 pounds in the last year and a half. And like I see that stuff and I'm just like, I'm pointing at it, I'm like, yes, like you get it. And like that kind of stuff fuels me so much too. So yeah, when people hear this stuff, like that's what I want people to think. And when they see others going through a challenge, to not just feel like pity and sorrow, but
mm.
inspiration, and to go and use that. Because I mean, I think it's pretty easy for me to speak on behalf of other people who go through immense physical challenges. That's what we want.
Mm.
And that gives us greater purpose to keep pushing forward.
For sure. And like pity and
Yeah.
sympathy, like is an immediate thing, right? And it doesn't go anywhere. But
Yeah.
inspiring others and sharing stories and gaining strength from and pulling it from here, there, and everywhere, like it's
Hmm.
productive. Like you end up creating progress from it, and it can
Hmm.
push you forward and pull other people forward, and it creates movement, and movement, turns into momentum, and that ultimately gets you places instead of
Yeah.
just going, oh yeah, that sucks. It's like, well, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Well, at the end of the day, like
Yeah.
we're all humans, right? Like show a little bit of humanity. Like tell me a
Yeah.
story. I'll tell you a story, tell me a story. And be like, fuck, man, that's insane. Cool.
Hmm.
How can we
Hmm.
help each other? How do we keep going? Even if it just stays at that, you know what I mean? You pass someone in the street or you grab a coffee from someone and you share a story with a barista. You're like, cool. And that's it. You never see that person
Yeah.
again. You've gained something from each other. You've created a little bit of progress, a little bit of movement. You're like, yeah, man, let's keep going. We're in this shit together. You're not alone. Whether it is
Yeah.
physical
Yeah.
challenges, whether it's mental challenges, emotional, spiritual, financial, whatever the hell it is, it doesn't matter. Like you're not alone. There's people in there with you. You know, like being in the deep dark cave feels like you're alone, but you're actually surrounded by loads of people. You can't see them because it's too dark. But if you have that
Hmm.
faith that other people are around and we share those stories, like, yeah, man, that's so powerful.
Yeah, that's another really important thing to realize, is that everybody has a challenge.
Mm,
Like when people look at me, they can see that I have challenges. My challenges are visible.
mm-hmm.
It's the first thing that people see. But for most other people, we can't see their challenges. We can't see the adversities they go through and the desires that they have. And I had the opportunity to take some really great classes at Cal, and through like religious retreats I did in high school. When people start to open up, and man, you think they got everything going on, and you think that they don't have anything, that that could possibly slow them down. But it's incredible what people go through every day, without anybody knowing what's going on, and just having like that general human decency
Mhm.
is so important. And to tell someone, tell them something good, tell them that, if you do know what they're going through, that it inspires you. Like I always love to hear that. And I think when a lot of people see someone like in a wheelchair, or they know that someone's going through something tough, especially if they're like kind of strangers, they're not like best buds,
Mhm.
then they'll probably like not want to address the topic because they might think it's sensitive. Or like, I love it when people come up to me and they're asking, like, why are you in a wheelchair? Like what happened, in a polite way. I love it when people ask that, because then I can explain the story that means so much to me. And it's not like I'm just, some guy in a wheelchair, but I'm some guy who's really, really perseverance through something. And,
Mhm.
it means so much more. So I love it when people come up to me and ask me stuff about that. And I always try to keep it in my head to be kind and courteous to other people and try to help other people all the
Mhm.
time, because everybody has a challenge. And I mean, some challenges, may be worse than others, but the process of overcoming that stuff, I think it's very universal. And those difficulties can affect different people in different ways. So it's an important thing to always keep in mind.
Your strength of mind, man, is unquantifiable. Like
Mm,
to be able to wake up every day and do that shit is one thing, right? But to
yeah.
literally have the decision of, okay, if I don't do this, I'm gonna die. Legitimately, I will close my eyes, go to sleep, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
And be able to make the tough decision time and time and time and time again, and now be 1657 or whatever it is days, and you're like, okay, well, I can do ABC, but tomorrow I'm going to try and get to D, and the day after I'm going to try and get to
Mhm.
E and F, and just keep going. And like it's insane, man. Like I put, if no one else listens to this, if no one else even gives a fuck, at least I've taken so much from that story, man. And I want to know, where have you gone from it from now? Like, what doors has been opened up, which seemed like your darkest hour, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like this was going to be the end. And
Yeah.
now what doors have now been opened for you to then go blossom and thrive through?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for saying that. Because it is the reason why I do what I do, is to inspire other people. And I mean, the doors that have opened is just immense. I mean, I'm still very dedicated to my goal of getting out of this wheelchair and never needing it again one day. But I've been able to do a lot more things in my life, more than I imagined. And one of them is public speaking, sharing the story to corporations. And like, I just got back from Las Vegas yesterday, talking to like a real estate investors conference about mindset. And it's sports teams, it's schools. Like I said, everybody has a challenge, and these tools that I've used to overcome my challenge, I think is universal. I think everybody can benefit from these things and use it to overcome the things that paralyze them, whether it be mental or emotional or physical, like for me. So one of those things is public speaking, how I share the story. Another is I'm wrapping up the first manuscript for a book that I've been working on for the last few months, with co-authors. So very excited about publishing that one day. I'm the executive director of our school's Letter Winners Society. It's our athlete alumni network. I feel so blessed to be able to wake up every single day and serve this community that's given me so much. My best relationships, some of my best experiences from the school, and to be able to support others and help them see the same amount of support that I've received in my life. And throughout it all, I'm just going to keep pounding that rock on the rehab, every single day, getting after it, getting after this goal. And some days are better than others. It's a roller coaster of progress. And sometimes it doesn't matter how much effort I put forward. I'm just not going to have as good a results as some other days. That's the way the nervous system works. And it's the way that this challenge works. But I'm a firm believer in consistency and how important that is. It's just like workouts, and you can stay in the gym for 10 hours and just bust your butt putting in workouts, and you feel super tired. But if that's all you do is, maybe you do that for like a week or something, you're not going to get any stronger. You're not going to get any better. You'd be better off putting in 20 minutes a day every single day, but just being consistent with that, to see improvement strength wise or conditioning wise in the gym. And I think it goes the same way for life's challenges. Is I'm always going to be answering that bell and pounding that rock every day, at this challenge, because I have this goal and this newfound purpose to inspire others. So you can bet that's what I'll be doing every day for the rest of my life. Is just getting after it and appreciating each day.
It's incredible, man, being able to share that story and do all these things and meet all these new people that you, let's be honest, probably never would have met in your life. We probably
Right.
would never have shared a conversation.
Yeah.
Turning your greatest tragedy into your biggest strength is something that fires me up so much. And I'm sure I speak on the behalf of everybody else. Like it's incredible. They're going through that decision, right? Because you reach that point where you're like, I can go left and I can be like, nah, I'm done. I ring the bell, place my helmet on the ground, I'm done. Or you can go right and you're like, it's going to be harder. This is going to be a lot of challenges. This is going to be very, very painful. However, I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be kicking it. And that is so inspiring, dude. And I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read the book. I can't wait to see what you do next. I can't wait to see you out the wheelchair.
Totally. Yeah. All of the above is happening. I thank you so much, Alex. Like it really means the world to me, and to be able to share this story through your platform means a lot to me. And like I've been saying, I love it when I can read those messages of people who have been inspired. So if there's anybody listening to this who has been touched, and if they could reach out to me, I really appreciate it. Want to follow, like I talk about the mental diet and having a good mental diet, and that's what I try to put forward in my content with my Instagram stories every day I work out, which is pretty much every single day. I share a quick snippet of that in my stories, and try to put that out for other people to see, so that when they're going through a tough time, that they can look to this story for inspiration, and we can be on this path together. So yeah, if anybody was inspired by this, there's not a lot of Robert Paylors in the world, so I kind of got a monopoly on that name, and it's all the major social media platforms and stuff. But I mean, thank you, Alex, for this opportunity. It's been really fun, and one of the best conversations I've ever had.
Man, I really feel honored to just share a conversation over a coffee. You know what I mean? And the internet has allowed us to do that, which is rather crazy. We're like 20 hours difference or something daft. We're literally in separate days. But I just want to say thank you, dude. And if I'm ever, I'll be able to leave the country because of freaking COVID and all that, like I'm definitely going to be visiting the States, and I'm definitely going to be knocking on your door in hilly Sacramento. You know what I mean? And if you're ever in the bottom right hand corner or want to come to this side of the world, then hit me up, man. We'll make it happen for sure.
Yeah, man. Count on it.
I will. I'm going to write it down.
Sweet.
All right, brother. Thank you very much for your time, man. And keep me updated whenever this book goes live. And that's it. I'm buying it. I want it signed though.
Awesome. Sounds great. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be great, and happy to get you that copy. I think it's going to be awesome.
Awesome, bro. Thank you very much, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Have a good day, bro.
You too.
Speak soon.
Yeah.